the coolest hands in the business suddenly found themselves rocketing around the 2.5-mile trioval at close to 190 miles per hour, 10 miles an hour faster than last year.
3 or 4 years ago, we felt like we got on the high edge, and everybody said they'd never run no faster, and here we are coming up here running 190, so I'd say 3 or 4 years from now, if they don't cut the engines back, we'll run over 200 miles an hour.
In front of these men, 500 demanding miles at speeds they haven't reckoned with before, in what promises to be a classic Daytona 500.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. This week on the Glory Days, we'll see the heroes of American stock car racing in the heyday of their youth. We're reminded how kind the years have been to the likes of Richard Petty and Buddy Baker. The year is 1968, 10th anniversary of the Daytona 500, which has already built a tradition of big crowds, high speeds, and close finishes. Les Kiter describes the action. Your pit reporter is Chris Economaki.
The 10th annual Daytona 500. The track is the same. The drivers are the same. The cars are a year younger, but it's an entirely different race. Cale Yarborough, in a Mercury Cyclone, established a new record to win the pole at 189.22 miles an hour. Alongside Richard Petty in a Plymouth with a mystery black top for those of you who like vinyl tops. Then there's Leroy Yarborough in a Mercury. David Pearson in a Ford. A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, and all the big names in stock car racing. The reason for the jump in speed, primarily aerodynamics. Many questions to be answered, however. The mental strain on the drivers, tire wear, fuel consumption, and can the car last 500 miles?
Well, I think so. Of course, we've geared the car to run these speeds, and so the engine won't be working much harder, if any, than it was last year to run the speeds we were. We're just pushing less wind and have a little bit better tire to do it with.
Do you find that there's more mental strain here than there has been in the past?
Well, yes. Anytime you're racing at speeds up to 190 miles an hour, you have to stay alert and feel a little better than I do today.
You just have to react so much quicker, and you're coming up to any situation. You just don't have as much time to think as you used to, so you just have to be a lot more alert.
Is drafting as important today as it was a year ago?
Well, I think drafting is going to be one of the things that's not a drafting of a different sort now. You don't draft real close right on someone's bumper like you used to. Something we're going fast enough now that the air is just not quite as effective as it used to be running, say, 175.
I'd say the draft is going to be used a whole lot just to get them down the straightaway, even though we're having to run off in the corner so we can get around there. So you're still going to use it right tomorrow.
Anytime cars run close together, there's going to be drafting, but I think that everybody's going to really be cautious. In fact, these speeds, I think it's gotten to be a thinking man's game now.
And there's plenty of thinking going on now as 50 of the best stock car chauffeurs in the business fire up and ready to pull off for the pace lap. Teddy's number 43 Plymouth shares the front row with pole sitter Cale Yarborough's Mercury. Leroy Yarborough, David Pearson, Tiny Lund, Bobby and Donnie Allison, Al Unser, Paul Goldsmith, and Sam McQuagg round out the top 10 qualifiers. And speed's the main thing on everyone's mind.
During the race today, they'll start out probably, I think they'll exceed some laps over 190 miles an hour. The 189 is about as fast as I've run, but you can't tell the difference between 185 and 190.
As long as I've ever been coming here, it's always been hairy, and every year the speeds go up. I don't think there's going to be anyone running away from the pack, so you'll see 3 or 4 or 5 cars mixing it up all the time.
They thunder for Johnny Bruner's green flag and launch the 10th annual Daytona 500 with foot to the floor. Cale Yarborough breaks his number 21 Mercury Cyclone free of the gang and slides in front. Their world turns sideways as they scramble along the high banking on turn 1 and head for 2. Cale leads. Leroy Yarborough, no relation, pulls his Mercury into second. Yarborough and Yarborough streak down the back straight. David Pearson, Tiny Lund, and a clamorous mob right behind. down the home stretch to complete lap 1. Cale leads, Leroy next. Then Pearson, Tiny Lund, Buddy Baker, and Richard Petty. Climb the turn 1 mountain, and Pearson is caught and passes Leroy for second place. Pearson's cooking in a 68 Ford Torino. Next target, Cale Yarborough on the horizon as they scream for turn 4. Look at that cluster just behind the leaders as they skim the wall out of turn 4. Lead newcomer Bobby Allison in number 29 Ford inches by the slipping Leroy Yarborough. Looks a bit close to the wall there. And the leaders stretch their advantage a bit. Still, Cale Yarborough with David Pearson in shadow. The caution signals trouble somewhere. Report is debris on the track. And here's the problem. Bobby Allison scrapes the wall and left some body work on the racing surface. His car seems not too badly damaged, and Allison will make it back with a slightly bent 68 Torino. The early caution's an opportunity for everyone to fuel and change tires without losing position. Buddy Baker in the number 3 Dodge Charger and Pearson in the 17 Ford Torino take advantage of the rest. And so does race leader Cale Yarborough. Same Wood brothers pit crew ministers to Yarborough's Mercury. Their reputation like a driver's is built on speed. And the Wood brothers are fast. At the green, it's Pearson, the number 16, Tiny Lund, battling for the lead. To the pit. A faulty transistor in the ignition. Mechanic Leonard Wood clambers out before he becomes a passenger. And Cale's away. Ignition problem solved. It's a log jam up front. Pearson still leading. Tiny Lund next. But here comes Richard Petty. Rapid Richard vaults into second as they sail into the third turn. Pearson's got the point, but the winningest stock car driver in history is right on his tail. Petty rewrote the record books last year, winning 27 of 48 races to the tune of $130,000 and setting a career record of 76 victories. We'll be back with more from the Daytona 500 in a moment.
500, something flew up off the racetrack and hit the windshield right at the roof line. I think you're going to enjoy the spectacle of Richard in his trademark cowboy boots stomping that vinyl top back into shape. And if you look sharp, you'll see Dick Beatty, who is now the Winston Cup director. He was a pit road inspector back then, checking to see that Richard did it right.
James Hilton in trouble. Last year's Grand National runner-up puts his 67 Dodge against the outside wall and rides it like a bobsledder. Hilton's all right, but it'll finish him for this race. The caution he inspired will mean pit stop time. Race leader Richard Petty is one of the first to take advantage. But Petty's got problems. Apparently something struck the windshield at the roof line and popped the roof like the top on a vacuum-packed can. The trick is to strap it back down. Richard punches some holes to wire the flapping lid to the inside roll bar. Heavy layers of tape are applied as well, and a very costly stop for the race leaders. The rest of the front runners finish their caution flag stops and roar for the action. Petty's still pit-bound. He'll lose the lead for sure. Out front now as the green waves them away again. A new leader, Leroy Yarbrough in the 26 Merc. Cale in the 21 Mercury pulls away, but pit stops to put him way down. He has a lot of men to pass before he catches Leroy again. Petty's back, but worse off than Cale Yarborough. With all the pit stop reshuffling, Bobby Allison in the 29 Ford grabs second. Buddy Baker in number 3 next. Then USAC champ Mario Andretti, who won this race a year ago. Pearson's next in the 17 Ford Torino. Then Bobby Allison's brother Donnie in the number 66 Ford. And they're racing NASCAR style. Donnie Allison's in difficulty. He caroms along the wall in the 4th turn, and that means another caution. Pit stop time again. Petty, Baker, Lund. Allison brings his Bruce Torino in. The 29-year-old Hueytown, Alabama ace is just beginning to make a name for himself on the Grand National Circuit, with a big breakthrough this year in the form of a ride for the famed Holman Moody team. A tough break. The Ray Fox team hustles over Buddy Baker's Dodge Charger. Baker's picked up some paper on his grill. A potential overheating cause quickly removed. With 50 laps gone, the lead has changed 10 times among 7 drivers. Andretti pits quickly. Here's Baker just ahead of Tiny Lund in number 16. Andretti hustles back. So does Cale Yarborough, but with some powerful distance to travel before he's back up there. And here's the battle. Baker in number 3 leading for the first time. Tiny Lund in the 16. Bud Moore entered Mercury driving a tremendous race.